Welcome, I'm the DeadwoodJedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video. We are on the test server today. We're taking a look at razelvarg rabbit. We're looking at the rabbit, the Easter Bunny fusion. This guy, I really like him. I think he's actually a very cool champion. I haven't tested him everywhere at this point. I basically knew that this was going to be a very cool champion with crazy passive ability and speed buff and stuff like that. And people would want to know, how do I build them for clan boss? So I built him for clan boss. And it's actually a pretty cool tune. The way I have it, I think it's actually affinity friendly. You can run it unkillable. You can run it normally, like as a killable team. It doesn't really change anything. The speeds are the same. It's just plugging in the right champions at the right spots. So it's a very versatile kind of thing. It's very similar to the build I did for the clan boss draft, the Clover draft with Archmage Helmet. I have razelvarg going at a 3-1 ratio. And everybody else is going at a 2-1 ratio, and the speeds are insanely slow considering that. Kind of insanely slow, which is, I think, incredibly remarkable to make something like this work. I believe it's affinity friendly. Obviously, if you bring in a debuff block champion, you can make it affinity friendly without any worries, but I believe this is affinity friendly with a cleanser, which is always a little bit tricky, but I'm pretty positive that's going to be the case here. Haven't tested it on Spirit Affinity because we're on the test server and I can't, get Spirit Affinity all the time. But from everything I've seen, looking at the calculations and stuff, this should be affinity friendly. It just might sync a cycle later than it would normally. Normally this syncs on turn 5 or 4. And I think on Spirit, it should sync on turn 7 or 8. So just kind of keeping all that in mind. But I want to kind of go over the kit a little bit so we understand why he's working the way he is, how we're utilizing him. Then I'm going to show you, obviously, the setup and everything. We'll go into the run. And then at the end, I'll show you the stats of all the champions and stuff. So you understand how I built them and why I'm getting the damage I am. This is a very fun team, guys. This is a cool champion. He hits hard. He does a lot of work and obviously enables your team to be, I think, very, very successful. Hey, just a friendly reminder, if you haven't already, take a moment and hit that subscribe button as well as that notification bell so you don't miss the next one of these videos that comes out. And of course, if you guys need help with your account, you can go to my website, DeadwoodJedi.com, where I'll be happy to look at your squad and make whatever improvements are needed to be made. But, when I'm doing that, I still want to play my own account. That's why I use BlueStacks, which you'll find linked down below in the pinned comment and description of this video. BlueStacks is a great way to run multiple instances of the game on your computer at the same time. And if you enjoyed today's music, we have that SoundStripe link down below in the pinned comment and description of this video as well. Use code DeadwoodJedi, save 15%. So obviously this rabbit is pretty amazing champion. I think he looks super cool. The tuft in the back. He's got the wolf head on the side there, which is really awesome. The main thing about his kit, he's got a lot of interesting speed stuff. So tuning with him is actually really tricky. Not super easy to do. I'm not even sure if we're going to have him in the calculator right away, as it is going to take a little bit of time to, figure out how to make all this stuff work. But his A1 gives himself basically a 15% turn meter boost. He gets a 5% turn meter boost for each hit. He hits an enemy 3 times. This is always going to be an issue for us, right? So we want to keep that in mind. His A2 brings a leech debuff, which is really nice. And if you're running a traditional team, that's going to be super helpful to help keep your team alive. And then his A3 is an increased speed buff and an increased accuracy buff, both of which are great, right? If you're trying to build a champion with accuracy, you don't have to worry about that as much because the increased accuracy is going to improve that by 50%. And obviously the increased speed is going to let us go at a 2-1 ratio on the team. And then his passive ability is really interesting, and this is what everybody's been really excited about. Every time he places an increased speed buff on his allies or himself, his base, well, not his base speed, but his speed will go up by 5. So essentially, he's in a 5-man team for clan boss, right? We bring 5 champions in, includes himself. Every time he uses his A3 ability, his speed is going to go up by 25. After 4 turns, it's up 100, and that's where it caps out. So it's a little tricky to speed tune with him because you go, oh, but if I have him going at 240 speed, then he's going to be 340 speed, but at a later point in this ball game. And it's about making sure everything's timed up. On top of that, he's giving himself that turn meter boost on the A1. So him going very fast, very quickly is a real easy thing to have happen. And then of course he has a speed aura of 20 as well. So 20% speed aura in all battles. This guy's going to be really fast. He's going to be very useful for you pretty much anywhere in this game. Definitely someone you're going to want to keep an eye out. You also, you also want to remember this increased speed ability is actually an attack, which is actually very rare. Most times when champions place increased speed on their allies and themselves, it's not an attack. And so they're not hitting, they're not doing any damage, they're not healing up. If there's leech out there, that is an attack for razelvarg, which makes him a much better champion than we might otherwise expect. So he's actually really good, and I'm very excited to bring him into this team. So let's go ahead and I'll show you the setup that we have going on here. All right, so this is the team that I'm running. Now, I am running it as an unkillable team, and again, you don't have to. You can definitely run it as a traditional team. What is ending up happening is razelvarg is taking 3 turns, right? He's not going first on any turn. It's actually going to be Doom Priest here who goes first, which enables us to stay affinity friendly. And that's kind of one of the things that I like to be able to do is when I build a team, make sure it's something you guys can use no matter what you're facing. But we've got razelvarg going at basically a 3-1 ratio. He uses the increased speed buff to start, then does the leech, or then does the turn meter boost off with his A1, and then does the leech with his A2. And that's kind of how it works. So we have him set up for that, right? Opening with the A2 and then A1 after that is kind of how we want to set him up here to work. Then we have Doom Priest, obviously, right? Just keeping everybody alive. But look at that speed, 168 speed, very slow. razelvarg 240 speed, again, very slow. Especially considering he's going in a 3-1 ratio. It's crazy slow. Gentoro here is going to be our damage dealer, giving us a decreased defense and weaken. You can use anybody in the slot. It doesn't have to be Gentoro. But Doom Priest is going to go first, then razelvarg, then Gentoro, then and even though everybody takes a turn again, basically what's going to happen is after Gentoro goes, we're going to have both Sir Nyx go, and they're both at 230 speed, which is not that crazy fast, right? Considering going at 2-1 ratio. So they're both about 230 speed. And then razelvarg is going to go again for razelvarg's second turn. And then we're going to have Doom Priest, Gentoro, razelvarg a third time, the rabbit for a third time. And then we're going to finish it off with the 2 Sir Nyx. This is going to allow us to be unkillable. The Sir Nyx are going to alternate their unkillable ability. And because they both go after the rabbit, it's going to stay up on everybody, right? But this also enables us, if we want to run a different type of team, we could, a traditional team. I could run 2 ally protection champions in those slots, right? If I wanted to, I could go with, say, a Jareg, and I could use 2 Jaregs for crying out loud. They're both on a 4-turn cooldown. I could use them and have them alternate their abilities, so we always have increased defense and ally protection up. I can, do a variety of things to kind of make this work for me with the champions that I might have. Very similar to what I did with the Clover Draft clan boss team that I ran there. So this is, I think, very good. I think it does work better as an unkillable team because since the rabbit, I gotta get that name right. Since the rabbit's taking 3 turns for every 1 the clan boss takes, and basically taking an extra turn compared to the rest of his allies, I can't really extend any of the buffs on him. We don't have a buff extender in here. And so that makes it definitely a little bit trickier in as far as trying to make it work, right? I'm sure there's a way to actually, run this champion in a 2-1 ratio team with a buff extender, and actually probably the speeds would be considerably lower on everybody across the board if we were to do that. But not doing that, trying to just run an unkill or 2-1 ratio team with him as the speed booster, it's going to be a little tricky keeping the buffs on him full time. So that's where it gets a little trickier as far as like trying to build a survive team, a traditional team, a non-killable team. So something to kind of keep in mind if you go about doing that. But as an unkillable team, this works great. It just takes a little bit of setup to work in. So first off, we're going to jump in. And as we do, we start off that A2, A1's with the Sir Nyx, right? Everybody's kind of just doing their thing here. And then as we get into the second turn, I need to make sure that the Sir Nyx, I can choose the fast one or the slow one, but one of them needs a 3-turn delay on that A3. So I need to basically A1 2 more times. So I'm going to do it once there. I can let everybody run on auto. He goes unkillable, looking great, looking good. There goes Doom Priest. And then I need to A1 one more time with Sir Nyx here. Boom. And then I can click auto. And at this point, it's a wrap. I can sit back, I can watch, should be affinity friendly, should be unkillable, and should work really good for us. Now, it is important to make sure if you are trying to run a traditional team, even if you're not trying to run a traditional team, very important that razelvarg does not get the stun. That's going to be really crucial, at least for that first stun that we just saw there. It went to Doom Priest, that's fine, but it can't go on razelvarg. This is helpful having a Gentoro or a Draco, another blue affinity champion, to take that stun in case razelvarg is weak affinity. I do have steadfast on him, so it should avoid the stun going on him. But I do need somebody else to take that first stun, because that's the only one where he's going to go before Doom Priest can actually cleanse it. After that, should be in pretty good shape. I think Doom Priest goes at the top of every turn, so regardless, we'll be able to cleanse it away, right? And if you use a different cleanser from Doom Priest, same kind of concept applies there. In those cases, you're probably just going to want to make sure that it's your cleanser that isn't stunned for obvious reasons. Or at least like you factor that in when you're trying to deal with the affinity debuffs, right? And so, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's a pretty simple kind of tune, but it works really well. Now, one of the things I want to pay attention to, razelvarg doesn't actually, I think, right now, finally has all his speed. You know, that's like the third or fourth time he's used that increased speed buff. At this point, his speed is up to 100%. It is boosted that extra 100, going very fast at this point. And we're able to kind of keep everything working here. Watch the damage that razelvarg does. Not a bad damage dealer. And I built him for damage, to be fair, but I also built him with accuracy, which you don't necessarily have to do. And considering the speed that he's going at, does a pretty decent job here. Now, decreased defense and weaken is out. It's nothing crazy kind of damage wise, but that's his A3 doing 92,000. When we get that increased attack buff from Doom Priest, it actually soars up a lot more. And so one of the things, you know, I would pay attention to a little bit is also how much damage he's getting from speed, how much damage he's getting from attack. That's something I need to figure out, or I'm going to wait for people to actually crack the code and figure out what the multipliers are on his kit. But from what I can see, he does decent damage. Not a crazy damage dealer, but not bad either. And that A1's a triple hitter, so I can use Giant Slayer if I want to. I can use War Master as well. I don't think there's going to be a real problem either way. Although, you know, War Master might actually be a better option, to be truthful, simply because got a triple hit on the A1, but both of his other skills are single target, single hits. And so if you factor that in, you're not really, I think War Master is actually probably a better choice for him as far as the mastery goes. But yeah, one of the fun things about watching him here is you get a good sense of how good he's going to be in other content. His damage is on par with some of the better damage dealers in this game. That's definitely a good thing. And it's not like better damage dealers, but like, you know, for a support champion, definitely solid damage here. And so that's a really good sign. Like you can see there with the increased attack buff, he did a triple hit, 50k a pop. That's a lot of damage he's getting out there. So you can build him for damage and he's not going to disappoint you. Probably not his strongest suit, but it's definitely a solid approach to things. On the other hand, you know, you can build him for support and speed, and I think you're going to get a lot out of him. The fact that he alone can make a 2-1 ratio team puts him in rarefied company, and it's not like I'm building with insane speed. He's only at 240 speed, which is about, what, 30 or 40 speed less than I think it's even less than that. I think it's like 60 speed less than I built my Archmage at. I think I had Archmage closer to 300 speed to do that for the clan boss draft. So obviously, you know, it's a big boon to be able to have someone like him do this. In fact, when I was trying to, you know, make this tune, often I was trying to get him at, getting him at like a 4-1 ratio, which is too fast because he's falling out of sync of things. So there's a lot to like about this champion, and I think we're really gonna see a lot more fun tunes and ways to utilize this champion going forward. I'm sure there's probably already a few out there for other areas of this game, but for clan boss, this is pretty simple, right? He does really, really good work, and you know, you can see we're doing crazy damage on this squad as it is. The rabbit helps. Every time he takes a turn, he does a hit, and that's a big boon compared to a lot of other champions out there that just aren't as dynamic as him and don't do that kind of damage. And so that's a big plus that he brings to the team. So anyway, obviously he's going to be good for unkillable. He's going to be I think he's actually going to be very good for traditional teams too. Bringing that leech debuff is really, really nice. And so like there's quite a lot to like about this champion, and I think he's, as far as I can tell, definitely somebody that if you have the opportunity to, you're going to want to fuse if you can. Anyway, let's jump to the end of this run so we can see what kind of damage we do. I'm kind of interested. I haven't done a full run yet. And then we'll show, we'll look at the kits of everybody so you see how I built them. Hey, 100 million, 100 million is 100 million. You know what I'm saying? Not too shabby. And I think one of the things we can look at as far as how good razelvarg is he had almost 20 million damage. That's more than either Sir Nick, who had toxic sets, by the way, more than Doom Priest, who's not a bad damage dealer, and only 10 million less than Jintoro. Jintoro's the boss. And I think this is going to be the real advantage of using oh my God, the rabbit. The only thing more important than using the rabbit, bugs. Can we call them bugs? I don't know. I need a good nickname for it, guys. Let me know. Give me a nickname down below, please. Something that I can call them so I stop saying razelvarg and saying it horribly wrong every time. Anyway, the rabbit obviously is going to bring some really good stuff. And like, this is just one speed tune that I found. Once I can get them in the calculator, I'm sure we can find several more that are going to be more interesting. But the fact that he does damage is such a boon to building a solid clan boss team. I think that's something that we're really going to get a big takeaway from going forward. And this is not just for clan boss. Obviously, if you want to use him in other areas of the game, the fact that he can do raw damage on his own is a big help to building those teams. So I'm gonna assume we're gonna see some nice successes in things like Hydra, in things like Doom Tower, any of the hard dungeons. I think that razelvarg is going to be a nice addition, if one that's a little trickier to get right and make work for us. Definitely a good addition for this game. So let's start off looking at Sir Nick. He's in a toxic set here, going 230 speed. Now the speeds on this actually seem to be pretty tight, so it's about 230, 231. Not a lot of leeway with this one, unfortunately, but I do know 230 is the slowest that we can go here. And that's kind of, actually, I should put it this way. The true speed of 250. That's what we're really looking for. That includes this 20% speed aura, right? Any sets that are involved, but we're really looking at a true speed of about 250, 251, 252 in that range there. There's not a lot of leeway with this one, unfortunately, but yeah, he's gonna do the job for us as we want. And you can see I built mine, both mine are built pretty similarly with heavy crit rate and crit damage and a lot of HP to try to do as much damage as we could. And you can see this is the other Sir Nick. Both of them, again, heavy crit damage, heavy crit rate, just trying to maximize the damage that we can pump out there. Both of them in toxic set. Again, 230 speed here as well. And that's going to be where we want them. They're both at basically the same speed, right around 250 true speed. And then we have Jintoro. As you can see, I've got a perception set, cruel, crit damage. I did build his accuracy up like normal without really taking into account that, of course, razelvarg, the rabbit is going to be placing increased accuracy buff on us. So that is definitely something I could take into account and definitely like factor that in and say, oh, I don't need this much accuracy. I can function with a lot less. And that would have been a good way to kind of up the damage, I think, overall. But my perception set stuff is pretty good, so it wasn't much of an issue. Anyway, yeah, but he's going 212 speed here. Now, my understanding is I think that's going to be about the minimum, about 211, I think is about the minimum. Basically, we want to be like, it's 230, I think it's 231 true speed. We want to be above that. So 231 is kind of the true speed limit there. And then you have a little bit of a range, a few speed up or down. So I could probably take my Gentoro up to about 215 or so if I wanted to, without causing any issues. Then, of course, we have Doom Priest, 168 speed. And this is right around where we need to be, excuse me. 168 is about right. I think you can go 169, maybe 170 speed. And this is a 188 true speed. And I think the range is actually 186. I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think that's correct. The speeds are fairly tight for this speed tune. So yeah, 186 speed, true speed, that's with the aura. 186 true speed up to about 190 true speed does work for this build here. Obviously, you know, I have her at 168 actual speed, which is pretty freaking slow and kind of amazing to be able to do that. And obviously, if I'm not doing Spirit Affinity, I can bring in another damage dealer. I don't need to use Doom Priest or any cleanser really. It's only for Spirit where you need one. I can tank the stun and have another DPS, and that can really do a lot for my damage. And then, of course, we've got razelvarg. Now, obviously, I built mine for damage. I mean, you can see like 250 crit damage, right? 100% crit rate, 240 accuracy, right? To land the debuffs. Again, I didn't factor in the increased accuracy buff. You know, but you know, almost 6,000 attack. I wanted to see what can razelvarg do if I really built it out. And we can see razelvarg can do some damage. If I want to build it for damage, I can build him for damage. And it's pretty effective. I do think that, you know, even without doing that, just the amount of attacks that he gets, because he's attacking on every skill, is already a pretty big advantage. But I think his damage is pretty equivalent to somebody like Elva. But obviously, Elva doesn't attack on every skill. So in that sense, razelvarg has a bit of an advantage. Also, bringing the leech is a really nice bonus. But, you know, 240 speed is what I have him at. Again, that's going to be basically 262 is that minimum speed you want. So 262 true speed. And so, you know, you can climb up on that. You can definitely go higher than that, but that's going to be the low spot. And that's where I took razelvarg, and it worked out pretty good, I would say. So yeah, that's the champ. So anyway, that was kind of a fun little team. I think that's definitely something a lot of people can get, you know, a big usage out of. Building a 2-1 ratio team is such a boon to your account. And it's not easy to do. The fact that you can do it with nobody over 240 speed is pretty crazy overall, right? And so he's very, very good. I don't need a buff extender. I just need razelvarg. Everybody's really slow. Like, there's a lot to like about this. Is it the best 2-1 ratio team? Maybe not. You know, there's definitely some negatives to the way I have this team constructed as opposed to maybe some other squads out there. But, you know, the requirements are super low. It's literally just razelvarg, right? So that's a pretty good place to start from, I would say. And then, of course, you know, this is just the beginning. I'm sure we can incorporate buff extenders, we can incorporate other speed champions, you know, take this to even bigger heights or try some different kind of combinations of things. But he's a very good champion and definitely going to be worth using, I think. He might not be meta. He might not really fit in perfectly anywhere on some of your squads. But the good thing about a champion like this is he's super unique, and those are usually the best ones to have, because if we find something meta with him, you're not going to be able to do it without him, right? It's a lot like somebody like Helikath or Underpriest Brogni. They just bring something completely unique to the table. Those are almost always the champions that you want to get when it comes to these fusions. So definitely recommend picking them up if you can do it. Anyway, that's today's video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to subscribe, hit that, you know, notification bell, the like button. I don't know, those little things. And if you enjoyed the music, we got the SoundStripe link down below. And that's all we got, guys. So thanks again for stopping by and watching. Until next we meet, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.